Hello everybody. This is a follow-up video to the Canyon Diablo Railroad Bridge video I posted a few months ago. Using the same drone, this is more or less the same footage. Some of it's the same footage anyway. The difference being for the earlier video, because I also used a video from my Panasonic GH2, which shoots just regular HD, I converted the 4K video to HD. So this video I'm going to leave in straight 4K video, and I'm not going to worry about adding the audio sound effects of the trains and whatnot. I'll just kind of voice over on it. But kind of what I wanted to do is show you the 3 separate drone flights from takeoff to landing. Now this first one I started the recording just after taking off, so you missed the actual takeoff itself. But for the other 2 videos, you see, takeoff to landing. So no edits at all, other than color correction and sharpening, that kind of thing. So I took off and I just kind of turned around and wow, here comes a train. So, it's good that you avoid being too low and then turn around and get smacked by a train. That would not be good. So among the things I want to do, and I'll talk about that a bit more later, is if I ever do go back, I wanna check out some of the area around there, and I'll mention more about that in a little bit. You can see with the 4K video, the quality of the imagery is quite a bit better than the standard HD video. The detail in the rock in the canyon and the bridge and the trains and all of that is much greater. Now, the train here is heading west towards Flagstaff. One of the difficulties in shooting videos from the location that I was stationed at on the east side of the bridge is that you can't see trains coming from the west side, because the west side is about 8 or 10 feet or something like that higher. So unless you've got a perch, 10, 15 feet higher than the ground, you're not going to see a train coming until it's from the west, until it's basically right on top of you. You have a little bit easier chance of seeing a train coming from the east, but even there, from ground level, you won't see it until it's within 30 seconds or so of you. So it's kind of difficult to time a drone flight to capture the train. You kind of just have to get lucky. These dirt roads in the area and the dirt road that I had to drive to get to the bridge are really brutal roads. I mean, I don't know how the people who live in this area, and there are people who live kind of off the grid, Native Americans and whatnot. I mean, they must have some battle tanks or something, because the dirt roads are nastier than hell. You can see they've got railroad ties scattered along on the north side of the tracks. I'm not sure if that was work that was done in the past or work that's planning to be done in the future, but periodically they do have to replace the ties. The wooden ones anyway. I'm surprised they haven't all gone to concrete ties. The canyon itself is a really interesting thing. It's very V-shaped and a little deeper than I initially thought. I thought it was only about maybe 100 feet deep, but I think it's in reality, at least in this area here, closer to like 150 feet deep. So it's certainly deeper than it looks. And you can see how it kind of serpentines around, meanders around it, kind of doubling back on itself. Pretty interesting. And again, the detail that the 4K camera is able to pull out of this is pretty amazing. The power lines crossing the gorge here, they're actually not power lines. I think they're like telecommunications cables. And in reality, it's underground or buried cable until you get to the gorge, and then they come up above ground and suspended across the canyon and then back underneath the ground. So it's buried cable until you get to the canyon. I guess I just didn't want to try to carve underneath the canyon. But it kind of makes for a sort of a dangerous thing for a drone. If you're not paying attention and run into those telecommunications lines, you're not likely to do any damage to the cables. I mean, they're a lot tougher than the drones. Certainly the smaller ones that consumers would have anyway. But yeah, the drone wouldn't fare so well. You can see in the bottom of the channel, this side of the bridge, those old piers sort of standing up towards the bottom. That was for an earlier bridge. And the story I get is that when they went to build the bridge, you know, they had Italian masons come out to build those piers, and then when the material for the bridge itself arrived, they found out that it was not long enough. It didn't fit the gorge, so it was somebody screwed up big time. So they had to basically stop what they were doing, and they built a second bridge. That's a big time oops. I'm getting ready to land here, and the spot on the rim here where I have to land is pretty small. It's only about 2 or 3 feet by 2 or 3 feet. You know, I didn't want to land in the kind of the dusty, rocky stuff. They kick up a lot of dust. So there's, as you can see in front of me, there's like flat stone area that's somewhat free of dust and whatnot. And well, this is where I landed now. So that's the landing, and shortly we'll be taking off for this. Here we go for the second flight, and I just catch this as the train is coming. So there's my 2012 Ford Focus. Love that little car. So I follow this train heading east for a little bit, and I kind of wish that I'd followed it further. If you notice in the sort of left center moving towards the top, now about the left corner, is the ruins of the old Canyon Diablo town site. And if I had gone another 20 or 30 seconds, I would have gotten a better view of it. But that town site, which grew up to support the building of this bridge, and it was kind of a very short-lived town, but in the short time that it existed, it was, by many accounts, the most dangerous western town of all. They had 5 sheriffs. All 5 of them were killed on duty. The first one, he was basically had his badge sewn on at 4 p.m. and they buried him at 7 p.m. the same day. I think there was something like 36 bodies in the cemetery for the town. Only one of them died of natural causes. Okay, again, the 4K footage here of the canyon is pretty spectacular. The detail in the rock is amazing. One of the challenges in this is that you shoot kind of a flat video when you're shooting it, and then in post, in editing, you use curves and contrast adjustments and whatnot to make it look better. And when you do that, one of the problems is that it, particularly in the shadow detail, if you bring that down just a little bit too much, then you get this kind of strobing, kind of breathing effect in the shadow areas, and it's really distracting. But as a photographer, and aesthetically, you kind of want that dynamic range and whatnot. So it's a balance of adjusting it so that you got a pleasing, good look, but not going so far as to have that breathing effect in the shadow detail. I think I got it pretty decent here. And again, the detail in 4K is pretty amazing. Some of you who may have seen my earlier video of the Canyon Diablo Railroad Bridge, the HD version, may remember this scene. This is basically the opening scene from that video. But again, that was all of the drone footage was shot in 4K, but because I had mixed 4K and HD footage in that video, I basically converted everything to HD. So this video, I wanted to keep it in its 4K glory, and I didn't worry so much about adding a musical score or trying to add in the sound of the trains, but we'll see how it works out. If you look over in the top left corner, there's like a homestead or something. I don't know if it's Native American. I kind of suspect it is, but it's kind of a ramshackle arrangement. I don't see any power lines. So it's definitely off the grid kind of place. And further on out, little right and above that, looks to be another home site. So the area is scattered with, Native American in particular, but also other peoples as well, kind of living off the grid and very sparse population. But again, the roads there are brutal. Dirt roads. Kind of a disconcerting feeling here as you're flying with a camera pointed basically straight down. I could get motion sickness from this, so thankfully I do pan up here quickly. There I go. see this the piers at the bottom for the original bridge kind of silhouetted there a little bit better. All right, coming in for another landing, ending the second drone flight. And you'll perhaps notice that when I do a landing, and usually when I do a takeoff as well, I have the drone facing away from me. And the reason for that is the controls are more natural when the drone is facing away from you, so that if you tell it to go to the right, it goes to the right. If it's pointing towards you, it kind of reverses things. So in order to avoid having that processing delay, mental processing delay for controlling it, it's just easier and quicker and safer to be pointing away from you. Makes things more natural, and you don't have to sort of transpose in your head which direction is which. All right, that's the end of the second flight, and here's the beginning of the third flight. Third and final flight. And there's an example of a train that came and went before I could get the bird in the air, because if you're not ready for it, and it's going to take you a couple of minutes to get the bird up in the air, by that time the train is past. In this area, the trains are going about 50 to 60 miles an hour. So a mile and a third long train, which is pretty typical, is there and gone in a minute and a half. It's amazing where you can just kind of park the drone almost like a tripod. And it just kind of sits there. I do one more excursion out south along the canyon. I'm about ready to head out on that now. And I've done that once before, and I included this because it was part of the flight, but also there's a little difference in the clouds. As you'll notice as we get closer to the horseshoe bend here coming up, the clouds to the south towards Route 40, and you can see the trucks on Route 40 from here, 4-something miles away. But you'll notice the clouds are kind of moving pretty big, pretty fast. As we get closer, it's more obvious. Now, when I say clouds, I really mean the shadow of the clouds. Yeah, and one other thing is the gorge itself is kind of a very sharp V shape to it. Normally, they're kind of U-shaped, as I recall, but well, I'm not a geologist. It just seems a bit of an odd shape. All right, now you can see the clouds, how the shadow of the clouds as it's moving towards us pretty quickly, in fact. Almost looks ominous. And in basically that direction there is the abandoned theme park known as Two Guns. And I do have a video on that if you want to check my channel. It was an interesting place. Like a lot of the places out here, they had a short run of pretty good popularity. Particularly when Route 66 had come through, but with the realignment when US 40 came through, that kind of put an end to it. Now we're just a couple of minutes from the end here. Just one more major thing to do. And that's it. The gyro and IMU stabilized camera platform that a modern drone with the gimbal system has is it's pretty amazing that something a consumer can afford has this kind of capabilities. The stabilization that comes with this is the kind of thing that cinematographers not that long ago would have paid $100,000 for, just for the stabilization. And this just comes with the drone. So this is where I get a little closer in and look at the sort of the bottom side of the bridge. And that bridge has been there for a while, and you can see that the metal is like a lot of the stuff that's it's not painted, it's left to kind of oxidize, and the oxide coating, which is rust, actually inhibits further oxidation, or at least that's the theory. But you kind of get that dark rusted metal look, which is pretty neat. See, this was done with rivets. Nowadays that would be welded. Every bit of it. But it looks like it's a pretty well built bridge and should last quite a while. So that's it. We're coming pretty much to the end now. Flying underneath the wires to get away from them, and then, all right, now I'm clear of them. There's me standing on the edge, my car. Got a camera tripod. I'm shooting with my GH2 as well. And I'm just about on the ground. Again, facing away. And that's it. Thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video.